The Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Sean McManus, do you want to tell everybody what you just did?
And also everyone from Nova, Dave McClung, listen to this. Natalie Price, listen to Malcolm and
No,
Simon.
they don't need to listen to
Malcolm,
this.
Sully, Simon Lovell, listen to this.
I was just enjoying a conversation we're having with Jack, our work
Experience, yeah.
And he was telling us a great story. So I was just leaning back in my chair,
what did
which
you
was
do?
leaning against the screen.
And?
It seems to be broken.
It seems to be, you broke it,
So
that's what you mean to say.
the glass
There's no
isn't
damage
broken.
on the glass.
No, and Sean's trying to rub it better, right? There is the glass
to
isn't
Megan all the
broken,
time.
but as we know with LCD screens, behind there is all the all the stuff that makes the vision.
Yes,
and that there
the
is-
liquid crystals,
That there
perhaps.
is cracked, and it's broken.
Yeah.
she dared.
She broke.
She dared.
Just need some mum spit.
She did. Sean, you are...
Mum spit. That'll
How
fix
much
it.
will that cost, you reckon? What do we reckon the recommend retail of that? Yeah, I know, but it's like a display screen, so it's like a big computer screen. So that would probably be about, what, $1,500, Sam, maybe?
Probably.
About 2,000. And I think that Sean has
Sean's
to...
I'm going to
personally
leave the
responsible
business.
for it.
Personally.
I'm going to leave
Because
the
I've done it
business.
to mine and Natalie's done to hers.
And we were listening to the same story.
And
we
it's a
managed
great
to
story,
not
thank you,
break
Jack.
it.
Nat would pay for mine if mine...
I was right
would
into
you
it.
Out of your own money, Nat would pay for hers.
Hey, coming up shortly, maybe
right,
Tracy
okay.
can help you out because she won cash or the car.
Nah.
on Friday. And
Sean's
we
got
had
heaps
to
of money.
catch up with
I mean,
her.
he's got $2,000 left right now, but Sean's got heaps of money.
This is the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Little story from the weekend. Saturday night, I had a comedy gig, just a 10-minute sort of part of a bigger show kind of thing down in Fremantle.
She's a prop comedian.
And I'm not a prop.
No, she
probably-
is.
Prop comedian might have gone down better.
She
to
just
be
pulled
honest.
out an inflatable
It
hammer and just smashed herself in the head between she's a
an
nail.
absolute disaster.
Oh.
it was so bad.
So,
it was
sorry,
so
now,
bad.
where was it? At the Federal?
At the Federal, yeah, that's
Okay,
right. So
yep.
it was the last. So they've been doing show. They don't normally
Another
do a
date
show
night again?
on a Saturday night, but because it was part of Fringe World. So
Yeah,
it was-
yeah.
there were a couple of other comedians from the East Coast over. So we all did for 10 minutes. So a couple of things threw me. One was that the MC was Dave Callan, and I'm like, oh, that's great.
Oh,
Dave Callan,
Dave
I love Dave
Callan.
Callan. And then when
What did he
they
do?
introduced Dave Callan, this guy walked up and I went, that's not Dave Callan.
Well, who was it?
His name is Dave Callan, but he's Scottish.
Oh.
I was expecting to see my friend Dave Callan, who I know.
So, and he's in comedy?
Yes.
Sorry,
But wait,
Dave Callan, who's Irish, has another Dave Callan
Yes,
that's
and he
Scottish
also
and
has
is in comedy.
This guy has shoulder-length curly hair as well, and I'm like,
But wait there.
it's the first time I'd encountered the other Dave Callan, and I'm like, so that rocked me.
Emma Stone
Yes.
changed her name from Emily Stone because there was another Emily Stone. Now, we don't
Another
know if
Emma
Emily's-
Stone. Emily, yeah.
Emily Stone. We don't know about that other one. A comedian can't be Dave Callan.
There's two Dave Callans. There's another in Perth. There's a David Hughes as well.
But he goes by David Hughes, that's
Yeah.
at least. But it can't be
We need
another.
to ring our Dave Callan.
We don't have
and tell him.
Callan off. We don't have
He
Callan
knows.
off.
He knows.
He knows.
well,
He
Jeez,
knows.
this is pretty
Yeah,
full on.
I know. So that threw me.
Yeah, of
That
course.
threw me.
It's fair
and then Dave Callan, the other one, did his bit at the top, and then there was a guy called Amos Gill who came on next, who's got Perth roots, but I think he now lives overseas. And
What are their names?
He's a very established comedian, very good at what he does. Even he was struggling a little bit,
Okay.
and it was like,
Well, Dave
this
Callan
is
threw him off.
clearly a little bit of a
He's like,
weird audience.
we mustn't be next to the Dave Callan factory.
So then Dave Callan, the other one, has introduced me.
Yeah.
And just as I've gone to walk up, this lady in the back row has turned around
Said, I'm Dave Callan.
and looked at me, and it was my sister-in-law.
Oh.
And so she and my brother
And they didn't
were
tell
there.
you?
And I didn't know that they were going to be there. And it just,
Yeah.
I should have
I
known
totally get
because
it.
my sister-in-law did ask me what time it started, but I didn't, that was a few days ago, didn't compute. She didn't say, oh yeah, we'll see you there or anything like that. And so they're sitting in the back row.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I just went, oh my God, like it
Yeah.
threw me because some of the
Because all the
material
material's
is
about them.
It's about stuff from our childhood and stuff. And he gets to mention a few things. So then it just completely threw me for start. And I'm like, oh no. And so I get up the front, and this particular room, it has the brightest spotlight
Yeah. Yep.
known to man. I blew my first gag. So the first gag, I forgot to say the punchline.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. You know what? You know what? We've all spoken to our parents.
This
That's what
is
your
so
parents
It was
do.
bad. It was bad.
okay,
And then
how were you feeling?
Awful,
Yeah,
awful.
okay.
And then of course, so I've blown the first punchline, and I was quite proud. I'd written that gag, and then I tried to bring it back later, and it didn't hit because obviously I should have said that punchline earlier. But I'm like, I don't want to waste it because it was time sensitive. I'm like, so I've blown that, and then I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, of course.
I blew the whole order of what I
playlist.
was doing, and I'm like, oh no. And then I just realised I was talking too fast.
That's okay. Did
And
you
it's
just
like,
Natalie do that?
Then you just see what?
Nat, you know what you do? You know what you do? That's when you say the time and throw to Dua Lipa. Just pretend that you're on Nova. And wouldn't it have been terrible, Natalie, if the next person came out and go, and now Natalie Locke.
Yeah, I know. How many are
And
there?
then another Nat Locke comes out and she was better.
Yeah, well, she wouldn't have had to try very hard.
So, Nat, the material about your
Mortified.
family and stuff like that threw you, that you would. How did you go through
I
that
still
minefield?
delivered it, but badly.
Yeah.
So badly. And then there was one point where I said, oh, my brother is here. Have I got anything wrong? And he didn't say anything. And so it's like, complete.
Well, it's like he's not even interested.
Complete radio silence. I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's not even owning up to knowing me at this stage. It's not good. It was, and the audience were all like, the guy before me had said, you guys are old. Like it was an older crowd, and it's like, oh, they're not. Nothing's hitting with them. I don't know. It was so
Natalie,
mortifying.
why don't you just do a TikTok dance?
I should have just stop, drop, and roll. I think was my best.
So, how long were you up there for?
Well, so
20 years, but all 10 minutes.
it felt it was supposed to be 10 minutes. I reckon I probably did 8, and because I looked at my watch and went,
That's fine.
"That'll do." I'm like, all right, see you later. I'm out of here.
But you know what?
And then I was meeting friends for dinner afterwards, but normally I would stick around and say goodbye. But I just went straight
of
out of
course
there.
not.
That's it. Nobody needs to stick around for this.
That was my next question. Because when I made that stuff up at the Cottesloe back in the day,
Yes,
the first thing I did was go.
Yes.
I left.
Yes, it's a good
I'll tell
policy.
you
I mean,
what,
people chased me out of that joint, but
It happens all the time.
If
to
you've
every-
never been on stage or been
Yes.
presenting something, if you've never been thrown by something you're seeing, you don't know what it's like. And the only time really it's happened to me, and it wasn't a stand-up or anything, it was us introducing a movie, and I've told it before, and we're at the cinema, we were working with this guy called Troy for years, I'd say at that point. And then next minute, I'm talking and introducing the movie with Nat up the front of the cinema.
It was one of the X-Men movies, yes.
And then as I'm talking, I've had to stop talking because I couldn't believe my eyes. And there was Troy, and right next to Troy was an identical version of Troy. He was an identical twin and never told us. And that was the first time I'd seen it. And we had to stop and address the situation because Natalie didn't know either. We were like, you can't know someone from years and them not tell you that there is an exact copy of them walking around the place as well.
I mean, if they never bring them anywhere, that's fine. But if they're going to bring them somewhere,
Well, so that's the
where you're
point.
gonna be.
If you're going to go to going to be in a crowd and something you know may jar the person on stage, let them know.
you need to get back on the horse straight
yeah,
away.
I am doing an
Let's
open
go.
mic on Thursday night. And you talk to any comedian and they all have a horror story. So that's mine. I've got my
And also,
Have
Sean,
you still got this gag that you can try to, or is it, you did say
Well,
time
it was very
sensitive?
time. So my opening bit was right that it's great that you're here because you could be at Kylie,
Yes,
or
of
you
course.
could be at the Indigenous All Stars football
Yes.
game, but you've made a choice to be here, which means this is the straightest, whitest audience going around. Sam Kerr would hate you.
Yeah, right.
Forgot the Sam Kerr bit, and it's like that was kind of the
that's-
punchy bit.
That actually has made this show unfunny. So thank you.
Yeah, we better shut this down.
Yeah. All right, turn her mic
So
off now.
never,
She's done.
don't come and watch me. I peaked a week ago with Nat Locke and friends, and it's all downhill from here.
This is the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
Coming back from Rottnest on the weekend, I had my daughter and one of her friends, and it was me and Megan and just another mate of mine. And it was a little bit choppy on the way back, and music was playing. People were they're in a pretty
time.
good mood at that
What
time.
were you doing? Were you the skipper?
I was a skipper
Whose
because
boat was it?
just a mate of mine that I jumped on board.
Oh, Sean,
Interesting.
I can just see Sean walks down to any marina and just sort of jumps in one, doesn't care who is,
Yeah.
and takes off.
So g'day, mate.
Can I
G'day,
take
mate.
this,
But you know
by
what?
the
If
way?
you've got a boat, pretty much I know that Sean's your friend because he's friends with you. Be your boat.
There you go. They say that's the cheapest one to buy. Isn't
Isn't
it?
it,
Sean's
Jeff?
fine.
Yep.
So we're heading back from Rotto, and I was driving, and anyway, my wife decided that she was having a good old time, that she wanted to go and sit
Megan.
where Sonny was. At the time, I was trying to tell everyone, don't move.
Sit
we
down.
want to make sure that we are
Don't
home
control
nice
her.
and
Don't
Safety
control her.
first.
You can't control
Hashtag
it, no.
me too.
Yeah,
Leave her alone.
absolutely. Anyway, she's hit the deck, and I did
Literally the deck.
Yeah, literally deck. And,
First time.
I
We've
was
seen
thinking-
Megan hit the deck before, but not like
This
this.
was an actual deck.
yeah, I thought she was okay, and it was
Oh,
probably,
no.
I don't know, maybe a minute later than Sonny's yelling at me and to get my attention. So I
Yes.
slowed down and I was looked behind. She said, "Mum has broken her arm. Mum has broken her arm. She's got a compound fracture. She's got a
Compound fracture is bone sticking out of through the skin.
And also, well done, Doogie Howser.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's only going to be like.
well, was
She
that
was
true, though?
amazing. Well,
was there bone sticking out of
it?
it?
Wasn't completely
Okay.
sticking out now. There was this big lump pushing out of her skin.
Right.
On her forearm.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, okay, here we go. We've got to deal with this quickly. So, Sonny does a sling with my T-shirt. I take
Yes.
my T-shirt off and she does a
Any
sling, which is
excuse.
amazing.
Sean,
Any
what you
excuse to
should
get
have,
into
Sean,
That's all I was
Sean,
after, Nat.
you missed the opportunity to tear it off your own body.
Yeah.
Well, the wind is sweeping you on
Yeah.
the thingo, and like and then that's someone will illustrate, and that'll be a cover of a romance.
I know, but there was no one around to appreciate.
There's no one here to illustrate. Hold it there, Sean.
Anyway, we get back to the marina, and I said, "Okay, it's one of my sons come to pick up my friend and Sonny and take him home, and I will go straight to Murdoch. Got private health cover, so I'll go straight there and make sure we're taking care of this." And it was really protruding from my skin.
By now, there's a big lump.
Yeah, it is.
A while back, if you follow us on our socials, you saw Sean had a lump that just appeared.
Yeah.
So it was that.
Now you match.
Megan.
Yeah, on her forearm. Yeah, absolutely on her forearm. So I'll get into Murdoch in that emergency part, and we're waiting. This is the thing, and I know I mentioned this to you guys earlier, but this is thing that I didn't get. So we walk in there, they said, "Can we help you?" And I said, my wife's got a suspected broken arm.
Yes.
And so laid it on the table. So they come out, and the first thing they do is not looking at her arm or do anything.
Yep.
They go, "Can we take your blood pressure?" And I'm like,
No, and really what they should is taken yours.
"Can I
Sean.
stick a thermometer up your arm?"
They should have taken yours.
It's her elbow.
Yeah, I know.
Arm. Anyway, that
It's
aside,
routine, but yes.
they the guy had a look, and then he said, "Look, we don't have
They don't have an orthopedic specialist on call all the time.
Yeah.
And I found this because I went there when I fell off my bike. Same deal. But I did stay there. They x-rayed me, but they said, if we find a fracture, we can't treat you. You'll have to go to Fiona Stanley, which is just down the road."
Yeah, so
they didn't have an x-ray.
Oh,
Megan.
okay. No, so they declared that, and he said it might be best if you just go straight over the road and get it dealt with. And I'm like, oh, here we go. So we go over to Fiona Stanley.
Private health insurance.
Yeah, exactly. What am I paying for? And then we go over there, and Fiona Stanley is abuzz in
course,
the
it's
emergency
Saturday
department.
night.
Yeah,
I need to see Fiona.
Exactly.
Bring me Fiona Stanley now.
First thing they do when we get in there,
Take her blood
Megan's
pressure?
blood pressure.
Like I said, Sean, they really at that point should have been taking your blood pressure.
What's losing it?
Well, the waiting room's full.
Yeah, it was quite busy at that time.
And with every manner of walking wounded and
There is
seriously ill
all the
people.
different stuff. And I was sitting next to this old lady was right next to us, and she'd been there for 1,000 years. Actually saw her get
She came
old.
in as a young woman.
Yeah, she was. She was at least in her 20s, and then she was well and truly in her, like mid-80s by the time she got seen. We were there for 6 hours, but here's the thing. There was lots of things happening as everybody's been stuck in those waiting rooms. I don't firstly understand how we can be in a situation where there's 6 to 8 hours wait when they told me that's a good time.
Well, you know why? Because they're so understaffed.
No, and Sean, they prioritise. So if somebody comes in, it's not take a ticket and wait your turn.
No,
They prioritise. So if somebody came in and they had something where they were seriously ill,
I ladder through their chest and I go, we got to see them first.
on the brink of dying, they're going to prioritise them over a broken arm. Unfortunately,
I totally understand that. But there was this lady that came in next to us. Now, I was there for 6 odd hours. At the end, by the way, my wife had an x-ray saying it's not broken. She's going to get a second opinion.
That's what happened to me. They said mine wasn't broken either, and it was.
We'll wait and see wait and see what happens there. But anyway, this lady came in and she was all dressed up. She
How old
was
is she?
Clearly, she would have been late 40s, 50s.
Okay, great.
And she was all dressed up. She came in from a night, and this is
so
early. This is probably about 8 o'clock.
Her hair up or down?
Full face of makeup,
Full
looking
face
good.
makeup,
the whole lot,
She's
yeah.
glammed up.
She's glammed up.
Tendrils.
And she had a big bandage on her arm. Now, she got to this particular party and she had been there for a second, had a champagne and a good song come on. So she's bang on the dance floor.
She's hit the
Hardly
dance floor.
anyone there
Oh,
because the
no.
party hasn't really got itself going at all.
So she was going to...
She's had a stack and she's put her arm straight through a window that was right adjacent to
How
the dance
long
floor.
into this party is she?
She would have been there for 15 minutes.
So she didn't get a chance to have a skinful.
No, and she was telling us that she thought she was going to die because there's so much blood,
Yes, there's some big blood
massive,
vessels there.
yeah, big time cuts all over her arm. Now the whole time she was talking, she had her arm elevated, so it was just sitting on her head.
Yeah.
That's the way you should do it.
and she was there for hours.
Which is really sad because it was squashing her beehive that she paid earlier on to get done at price
She
attack.
literally had it for 2 hours on her head, trying to have a conversation with us. But the whole thing was, she only got to that part. She only just got to that party.
Yeah.
No one had actually hit into the second or third gear yet.
Half the other party goes wouldn't have even known that she'd been and gone. Do you know what I mean?
People have been turning up to this
and going,
party and
"What's
seeing
with
an
the broken
ambulance in the
window?"
driveway.
Yeah. I remember, because I don't like lining up, as Neither do you two.
No.
That's been before ever I was on radio, and it was years ago, and it was everyone was lining up. It used to be a nightclub called Crush, right? And everyone would line up for there, and it was they were very selective about who they let in. And they'd just say, no, you can't come in.
Yeah,
I'll give you a rule. That's why it made it so much more important for you to get in there. And I remember all these people lining up, and people would stand outside for an hour and a half. And I remember it was an hour and a half of these people lining up, and I was leaving at the time. And as I was leaving, suddenly the fire alarm went off, and all the people that had just gotten in
After
waiting for an hour and a half
or 2 hours had to walk straight back out again, and then they couldn't go back then at night, and they'd finally made it to Crush, Sean.
Finally.
And they couldn't crush it on the dance floor.
And that's their
is
Crush
sad.
story.
We want to talk about this, right? So you just got there and then you had to leave.
Yeah, they
was
have
it
a
a
hot
good
second.
thing? Or was it a bad thing? Maybe,
Maybe it was a good thing.
Imagine us having to rock up and do a work thing, and then suddenly something happens.
Like you have to go home.
I mean, it wasn't started already, but when we found out that Crabfest that year was
was
shut
cancelled
down
because of COVID.
We were like, oh my God, we got a weekend, but we were high-fiving about
Sorry,
we love
Sorry about the pandemic.
yeah. I mean, but there was, you know what? There were some great things that came out of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Silver lining. Sophie's in Floreat. Morning, Soph.
Morning.
Hey, Soph.
We're talking about when you're only there for a hot second and something happened. What happened?
Okay, so we're living in London, and my dream was to go to Wimbledon. And so my husband looked after the small kids, and that was a feat just to get that done. And I lined up for about 4 hours. I was in queue, talking to random people, lining up. I get in, and I sit down, and I'm so excited. I'm beside myself.
I am too.
I was excited. I'm centre court, and then guess what? It starts to rain. It starts to rain. So all play for the whole day is cancelled, and that was my Wimbledon experience.
Oh, Sophie.
no.
So did you get your money back from that, Soph? What happens?
No.
Oh, you just blow it. That's it.
Admission. I know. So no strawberries and cream.
Nothing.
No.
Home back to the kids.
Didn't meet the royal family at all.
This is the thing, though. Next time you got to go to where Sean reports on. That's Wimbledon.
Yes, that's right.
Totally different.
Sean goes to Wimbledon.
Never rains.
So it's just different.
Yeah, it's always sunny in Wimbledon. That it does
I thought
suck.
there would have been a weather clause in there or something.
One of my friends, she bought tickets to a day at the of an Ashes test in the UK.
Yep.
Where the last time Australia were playing England, and she got there and same thing happened. They played about 3 overs and then it got washed out. And because there is a sort of a threshold, if they play more than a certain amount, you don't get your money back. But she did, and like they were $1,500.
Oh, yeah.
Like she paid a fortune for these really good seats because that was all that was available.
So while you're there, what was the cost of Wimbledon?
Done. She went to Dun.
It was like a general admission. So I lined up, with all these people chatting. You had your chair and you line up for like hours just to get in.
Were you there by yourself or you went with friends?
Yeah.
I was just
by yourself.
I love you.
Bucket list.
Yeah.
Oh, Sophie, I'm devastated for you.
I know. Thank you.
Thanks,
Sean,
Soph.
one day you'll get to Wimbledon.
Let's go to Chelsea and Dutch. Morning, Chelsea.
Good morning.
Okay,
Chelsea.
Where were you that you were only there for a hot second and then something happened?
Okay, so my little guy, I took him to see Santa. This is before they'd done all of the online booking and stuff like that.
Yes.
So we're at the shopping centre and we're in line, bearing in mind he's 3 years old and very hyperactive 3-year-old.
Yep.
And he was adamant he wanted to see Santa. The year before, we hadn't got near him, so I was like, great, I'm going to get my Santa photo this year. Awesome. We stayed in line for 2 hours. We got to the front of the line and Santa went on a break. We were literally the next in line and they closed the gate and they're like, oh, Santa's going on a break, he'll be back soon. And we were like, okay. No problem.
Yeah.
So another 20 minutes goes by, Santa comes back, we get let in, he screams blue murder.
Why?
No
He's scared of
photos.
Santa.
The kid, not Santa.
I thought Santa did.
My kid, yes, sorry. Not Santa.
What
we're with you.
What
We're
has
with you.
said of Santa?
Santa just started screaming.
He's like screaming at the children. Anyway, so your kid wouldn't go near Santa. Are you kidding me?
Nowhere near. No photo, no nothing. Wouldn't even
What
step
a
foot
waste.
next, like screaming the shopping centre down.
Oh, amazing.
So we waited 2.5 hours with a hypo 3-year-old to get nothing.
Did you get it? Did you not even? So you didn't get the photo of him screaming with Santa? You didn't even get to that stage? No photo,
Didn't even
move
get
on.
to that stage. Couldn't even get my phone out. Had to
Because I was wary of Santa as well, right? Because
Yeah.
as a child, I knew this doesn't make sense. Why does this guy get away with breaking into anyone's house?
How does that fat guy
You know what
fit
I
down
mean?
the
Like,
chimney? It's a lot of
To me, it
questions.
was like, no, this is stranger danger.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go near him either. And but they would always have something for you, the scared kids, to sit on.
Yeah,
So
like
mine was a
little
rocking
stool.
horse.
Yeah.
Back then, actually, I've seen this photo of myself for years and years and years. And my mum said, that was really strange for us back then, that Santa. And I said, why? And Mum goes, that was the only Asian Santa that was at a supermarket. It was over in Sydney. And I went, like, I've looked at that photo for years. I said, I'd never known he was Asian. So Santa can be anyone.
He can be.
He can be.
Nathan, Nat and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.